Assalamu alaikum. In today's video, we are looking at another brilliant game of Mikhail Tal which he played against a player named Boensch. In this game, Mikhail Tal sacrificed his minor pieces in the end game, and that is the reason why I am showing you this game. In this game, Mikhail Tal was playing as a black, so his opponent started the game with e4. Mikhail Tal played c5, Sicilian defense, knight to f3, d6, d4, c capture d4, knight captures d4, and now knight to f6 attacks the pawn on e4, knight to c3 defend the pawn, and now a6. The most famous Sicilian najdorf variation. The main purpose of playing this a6 move is to stop these two knights and this light square bishop from coming to this b5 square. Bishop to c4, e6, bishop to b3. Bishop to b3 stops this b5 move with a tempo, but Mikhail Tal played it anyway. b5, queen to e2. Why did white play queen to e2? Because on the next move, Mikhail Tal can play the b4, and when the knight moves, for example, knight to a4, Mikhail Tal can win a pawn on this e4 square. That's why white played this move, because queen to e2 defend the pawn on e4. Mikhail Tal played bishop to e7, bishop to e3, short castle, f3, bishop to b7, fianchetto his bishop, and white played long castle. Whenever the both player castle on the opposite side, the plan for the both players are simple and same. White will play on the king side. He will try to push his pawn forward, and he will try to disturb the pawn structure of Mikhail Tal in front of king. The same plan is for Mikhail Tal. He will push his pawn on the queen side, and he will also try to disturb the pawn structure of the white in front of his king. Mikhail Tal played knight b to d7, g4. Black already started his pawn push. Knight to c5, g5 attacks the knight, so knight f goes to d7, h4, rook to c8, placing his rook on the semi-open file. King to b1, b4 attacks the knight, so knight goes to a4, knight captures on a4, bishop captures on a4, and knight to c5 attacks the bishop, so bishop goes to b3, and now a5. It's very simple. On the next move, Mikhail Tal would play a4. That's why white played bishop to c4, a4, rook d to g1, placing his both rooks in front of Mikhail Tal's king, d5 attacking the bishop, so e captures on d5, bishop captures on d5, and the best move for the white in this position is to capture this bishop, but he missed it and he played bishop to d3. It's a mistake because now Mikhail Tal bishop is very active and he is also attacking the white's king. Mikhail Tal played b3, h5, knight captures on d3, c captures on d3, and now e5. Mikhail Tal wants to remove this powerful knight which is placed on this d4 square, but white didn't save it and he played g6. But what if white saved it and he, instead of g6, he played knight to f5, then Mikhail Tal can play rook to c2. Let's say white played his queen to f1, but now a3, and in this position it's very simple. Mikhail Tal attack is very fast and it's winning for him. That's why in this position he didn't save his knight and he played g6. He sacrificed his knight for the better tempo and for the speed of his attack. Mikhail Tal simply accepts the sacrifice. E captures on d4, queen to g2. The threat is simple. White wants to play this g captures on h7 with the check. Now it doesn't matter if Mikhail Tal captures the pawn or he played king to h8, then queen captures on g7 is a checkmate. That's why it's forced to play bishop to f6, h6. Because of these two pawns, the battery of this rook and a queen and this another rook on this h file, this bishop, it looks like that this position is winning for white. But trust me, computer is giving almost 6-point advantage to Mikhail Tal. Why? We'll see in the game. Mikhail Tal played f captures on g7 and h captures on g7. Now this pawn is attacking this rook. Most of the players would think about king captures on g7 and bishop captures on g7, but we are looking at the game of Mikhail Tal and he brilliantly sacrificed his rook with the rook to c2. White in this position played king to h3, but let's see what happens if he accepts the sacrifice. If he played g captures on f8 is equal to queen, then queen captures on f8, queen to h3, and now after rook captures on b2, there is a checkmate by force in 6 moves. That is the reason why capturing this rook was not good for him. That's why in this position white played queen to h3, but Mikhail Tal Tal did not stop and he again sacrificed his rook on the b2 square. Again white did not accept the sacrifice and he played king to a1. Let's see what happens if you accept the sacrifice. If you accept the sacrifice, then b captures on e3 check, let's say d4, but now bishop captures on d4, king to c1, queen to c7 check, king to d1, queen to c2 check, king to e1, bishop to c3 check, king to f1, and now bishop to c4 is also a checkmate and queen to f2 is also a checkmate. That's why you cannot capture the rook in this position. White played king to a1, but again Mikhail Tal sacrificed his rook with the rook to b1 check. That's the third rook sacrifice in this game. White played king captures on b1, but let's see what happens if you capture with the rook. If rook captures on b1, then d captures on e3 check, rook to b2, but now bishop captures, king captures, and queen to f6 check. If in this position you go to c1, then queen to a1 is a checkmate, and if you go to b1, then b captures on a2, king to c2, bishop to b3 check, king to c1, and a1 is equal to queen is a checkmate. And if in this position you play king to a3, then there's also a checkmate by force in 7 moves. That's why capturing this rook with the rook is not a good idea. White played king captures on b1, but now b captures on a2 check, king to c2, queen to c7 check, king to d2, queen to c3 check, king to e2, and now queen to c2 check. White in this position played bishop to d2, but if you play, let's say, king to e1, then a1 is equal to queen, and after bishop to c1, queen captures on c1 is a checkmate. That's why white played bishop to d2, but that still does not save the game, because now Mikhail Tal played rook to e8 check, king to f2, queen captures on d2 check, king to g3, and after bishop to e5 check, white resigned in this position, because whatever you play in this position, the checkmate is unstoppable. Let's say you play king to g4, but now queen to f4 is a checkmate. If you play f4, then simple queen captures on f4 is a checkmate, and if you play king to h4, but now queen to h6 check, king to g4 forced, but now bishop to e6 is a checkmate. And that's the reason why white resigned in this game. So I hope you like this brilliant game of Mikhail Tal, and if you like it, please like this video, subscribe to this channel to get more amazing and inspiring content.